Welcome to another Ayehu NG tutorial. In this video, we'll learn how to free up disk space on your server by creating a workflow that cleans up temp files and log data on a scheduled basis. Let's start by creating an Excel file containing the list of servers we'd like our workflow to work with. You can add either IP addresses, URLs, or fully qualified domain names. It's important to note that this file is dynamic. You can edit it at any time, and when the workflow runs, it will check this file each time before executing. This server list can be stored as a text file, database, Active Directory entry, or like we're doing here as an Excel file. We'll save the file and start creating the workflow. Like all workflows in Ayehu NG, the first step is giving yours a name. The workflow begins by reading the Excel file we just created, so of course we have to specify where to find it. We do that with a read XLS activity. Now, in order to read the Excel file dynamically, we're going to use the getRowsCount activity. This activity returns the number of rows of data in the Excel file. The resulting count will be used to tell the while activity, which we'll see in a moment, how many servers to look for. We'll set up our while loop by configuring its counter to be the number of rows calculated by the previous activity. Next, we'll use the getCellValue activity to dynamically extract each server name from our Excel spreadsheet as the while loop iterates through its counter. And we'll rename the getCellValue activity to server name, so it's a little more intuitive in our workflow. This will become a bit more obvious when we configure the next activity, but first we need to input a few parameters for the server name activity. Using the dynamic variable readXLS1, we're going to grab the host names from the Excel spreadsheet generated by the readXLS activity. We'll also input the current row number with the dynamic variable whileActivity1 and indicate which column on the spreadsheet to reference for this information, in this case, column 1. Now we're ready to check the available disk space on drive C of the currently selected server. We'll point this activity at a server C disk, tell it we're looking for an availability percentage, and specify the host name. Here is where the server name variable comes into play to make our workflow a little easier to understand. Now we'll set up an if-else branching condition using a cutoff of 10%. That means if server disk availability drops below 10%, we'll run this branch of the workflow to free up more room. It's time to start freeing up disk space, beginning with deleting files in the temp directory. We specify all the files to delete in the temp directory location, and once again use the currently selected server name variable for the host name. Next, we'll use the zip compress activity to zip up log files in the C logs directory and output them into the D archive logs directory. pretty straightforward. After the archive activity completes, we can delete the log files from the clogs directory using a second delete file activity. With all the file deletions completed, let's recheck the available space to ensure our workflow was effective. Once again, we'll point the activity at a server C disk, tell it we're looking for an availability percentage, and specify the host name. As a last step, we'll take that data and email it to the admin with a comparison of the available disk space before and after the cleanup. Note that we can customize the message to say whatever we want. We can also incorporate those variables from within the workflow to provide the specific data that the admin wants to see. Let's also boldface a few things we want to emphasize. With our workflow complete, we now have to create a schedule for it to run. We do that under IAHU NG's Policy Actions menu. We'll just input a few parameters like a schedule name, the name of the workflow to run which we just created, and we'll use the default recurrence pattern of hourly. That's all there is to it. Now the workflow will run every hour and make sure none of the specified servers is running out of disk space. This concludes our tutorial on how to free up disk space on your server with IAHU NG. For more information, please visit our support portal at support.iahu.com.